Welcome to another episode of Make Gains. Today we're going to be talking about layoffs and quiet firing. Let's get into it.
I am likely going to get in some trouble for this, but I'm going to go ahead and say this anyway. I caught a clip today from one of my favorite podcasts. I'll link them in the comments. They were chatting with a gentleman named John Lee, and he dropped a bomb. He called the return to office push a quiet layoff. Are you kidding me? That hit so hard. I mean, think about it. Think about it for a second. During COVID, many companies massively overhired. Now, instead of cutting loose the talent, they're quietly pressuring people back into offices under the guise of restoring culture. Here's the real kicker. 73% of companies will require employees to be back in the office 3 or more days a week by the end of 2025. That's nearly 3/4 of businesses turning attendance into a subtle form of downsizing with no official layoffs. Meanwhile, employees are reminded that remote, which consistently drives up retention and productivity, is on its way out. Companies are reclaiming control of bodies, not necessarily delivering value. It's a strategic squeeze, not a refocus. This isn't about boosting performance. It's about trimming staff without triggering an HR mess. And if you're hearing more chatter about we're an in-office culture than talking about your compensation, that, my friend, could be your warning. So if your company insists you're back 5 days a week or they're dangling incentives for FaceTime, pause and ask, is this a culture reboot or a quiet exit strategy? If you see through the haze, drop BS in the comments. Let's not go quietly on this one.
So it is an interesting take on layoffs, right? I mean, are businesses requiring people to come back in the office because they really want the cultural push? Or are they trying to make a shift to downsize without having to actually do layoffs? It makes perfect sense to me. And I think they're also doing other things like requiring to be in certain locations for promotions. I know that some of these companies, I believe it was IBM and Dell, were saying that unless you go back into the office, then you weren't eligible for certain promotions. And then they were also saying things like you weren't eligible for pay increases unless you were coming back in the office. Those are all interesting things, and it could just be that they're putting that pressure on to downsize their teams.
I got it! We'll start quiet firing. We'll make the workplace absolutely insufferable and force our employees to quit so we don't have to pay them severance. Brilliant! We'll make unnecessary return to office requests even though work from home is more productive. That's not all. We can cut employee benefits, increase workload, delay pay raises, and gradually isolate targets until they quit. Yes, and we won't be alone. 42% of business leaders have admitted to doing something like this, and 11% say they're gonna. It's not because we're bad people. We're just too cheap to pay severance and legal fees, and we're unable to hold ourselves accountable. Who gives a shit that we're toying with people's livelihoods? The business comes first. Sure, nearly everyone agrees that this makes the workplace actively worse and erodes all trust. But we can start overworking all our employees. Exactly. Half of our managers have reported that these workers just simply tolerate poor treatment rather than quitting. They'd rather be in a toxic workplace than go through the stress of landing a new job. Think of all the shareholder value. Humming. It's nice to know so many people value money over other human lives. Not having empathy is amazing.
So they talk about some interesting things there. You can go back and rewatch that actually have the clips from the news articles. They pulled that data from the pages, but it is interesting that the things that they're doing here is causing toxic work environments, and many employees would just choose to stay rather than try to find something different. So if you're in that situation, I'd love to hear from you. Put in the comments down below what you're doing in that situation and how you're handling it. Is your company requiring return to office mandates, and are they putting pauses on some of your employee benefits? If they are, throw that down below. We'd love to hear from you.
2025, I'm gonna need a refund because this year sucks already. I just got laid off for basically the second time back to back. If you didn't know, I worked at Twitter and I got laid off when Elon Musk acquired the company. Since then, I've been working at a content strategy agency type place as a director of strategy. I just got laid off yesterday. It's surreal because I definitely didn't want to go through another layoff. Being laid off the first time was one of the most traumatic events that have ever happened to me, especially because it happened so publicly. This time was obviously a little bit different, but the company lost some clients, and now here I am without a job. It's hard not to reevaluate my life choices at this point. I work in tech, and so I'm wondering if that's still what I should be doing. It's hard to feel secure in a job anymore. It feels like those days are over. I don't know if I should be in tech anymore or working this corporate life. I love the security of having a stable job, but that hasn't been the case for quite some time for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of tech companies are feeling a little unstable right now. And I think AI has a lot to do with that. I don't know that I'd give the advice to change careers completely. A lot of folks in jobs impacted by AI are really feeling this right now. It's a sensitive one. I'm of the camp that with new technology will come new jobs. Hopefully that is the case on both sides of this one. Folks saying that AI is going to eliminate jobs and they're not coming back. And then others say we just haven't found out what they're going to be yet. But there are still lots of jobs available in tech. And just because you experience a layoff doesn't mean you can't find another job in tech. Hopefully you can upskill and utilize AI in your new role. And that way you're one of the ones pulling the strings versus just feeling the impacts.
Well, second time in a year, almost a year to the day, I got laid off again. Twice in a year. What is anyone supposed to do? And they said, because of the economy is crap right now. So, we're going to lay off a whole bunch of people again. I already was struggling so hard, actually low-key, to even keep the current roof over my head. Now, I have no idea how I'm even going to get through the next few hours. I just don't understand. And I'm quite frankly tired of it. I'm tired of my livelihood being in other people's hands. And I have no idea how to fix that, but I'm going to, because this is just wild. I have no idea where any of my bills are gonna come from. I'm more angry than anything because I just cannot even believe I used to be able to get a job like the week later if I got laid off. So I have no idea what's gonna happen. I was really hoping I would make money on TikTok, and I still only have 1,500 followers. If you could just blow this up and let's get 10,000 followers plus, because I might be homeless in a week or two if I can't figure it out.
Yeah, this is a hard one, right? Because if you're in a situation where you're struggling already and then you lose your livelihood, it's not a good feeling. And I don't wish that on anybody. I know that this is tough. What she said about her livelihood being in other people's hands is something serious to think about. As we are moving towards more layoffs, we're seeing AI replacing people. The more you can do to put your livelihood in your hands, the better off you'll be, right? Because you're not going to get laid off if you're in your own business. Even if you're in a stable job, finding a side hustle or something that you can do to bring in some extra money, it'll do a couple things for you, right? It'll allow you to be able to have additional savings. It'll give you a little bit of extra security. And then if something does happen to your main job, then you've got a little bit of something you can fall back on. Plus you'll have the savings you've been storing up. If you're in a position where you can do that, think about ways you can make money on the side, maybe doing something you're passionate about, or just a niche that you know you can make money in, I think would be a good idea.
The Great Restructuring is not a joke. If you've heard about it, then you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't heard about it, then listen up for a quick second. I've been seeing a lot of videos about layoffs just changing up the corporate world in general due to many factors. Just want to give you some stats. I'm reading an article right now, and listen to this. Over 62,000 job cuts were announced in July. This is the highest level of job cuts since the early months of the pandemic. In 2025, over 800,000 jobs have been lost. One of the biggest reasons, and we all know this unless you're living under a rock, is because of AI. AI alone, it was cited that over 10,000 jobs were cut because of it. Last month, July. This statement was put out from a career coaching company, which I'm actually using. So this isn't fake news. I just wanted to give those facts. I think this is a little scary. AI is here to stay. It just keeps growing. So learn what you can about it. Don't fall behind the curve or find something that has nothing to do with AI. I don't know. Everything does these days. So that's what the Great Restructuring is about. I'll keep you guys up to date on what else I read about this. It's truly bananas. Bananas.
It is bananas. It feels crazy. And what she said about really trying to learn from it, I think is the key. If you're in a job right now where you're worried about AI taking over your job, one of the best things you could do is learn how to improve where you are using that tool. If you can increase your productivity because of AI and make sure your manager knows about it, that's going to be a good thing. Ideally, you can be somebody who increases your productivity so much, there's no way they're going to want to let you go because you know how to be extra productive using AI as a tool.
Hi everyone, I'm Amanda. I live in Seattle, Washington, and I have been laid off from my corporate job for over a year and a half. And I want to know, do you guys remember quiet quitting? No one talks about this anymore. No one quiet quits anymore because everyone's afraid to be laid off. However, point two, do you guys think we're all being punished for quiet quitting? Think about it. Rewind 4 years ago, 2020, COVID hits. This is when all the companies start doing their layoffs. And then we all start getting overworked. And then we all start quiet quitting because we refused to be overworked. 4 years goes by. These companies are still doing layoffs. And now we're in this situation where no one can find a new job. Everyone you laid off, there's not enough jobs. And I'm like, is this punishment for quiet quitting? I don't know if these two are connected, but if you think like me, let me know. Do you guys think it's karma and we are all getting punished? Let me know.
That's an interesting take. I don't think that's the reason, but I do think some of these layoffs can be attributed to the productivity that came from quiet quitting. If companies are paying big money for your salary and they feel like they're not getting enough value out of that role, then it does make sense that they would want to eliminate that position and put somebody in it who can be productive, or use AI with another one of your peers to triple their workload. So, don't think it's a punishment, but it could be a consequence.
I got laid off last December, and the worst part about not having a job is not what most people would think it is. It's not the fact that I am not making enough money. It's not the fact that I don't have anywhere to go. It is the insane guilt that I wake up with and go to bed with every single night. Even on a weekend, I feel more relieved because my responsibility to find a job ceases on the weekend, because if nobody else is working on the weekend, then I'm allowed to not have a job on the weekend. But the second Monday rolls around, the guilt is back. The guilt is back. And I don't think enough people talk about this, and it never goes away. And it feels fully like it's your fault, no matter how many times you're applying for jobs, no matter how qualified you are for what you're applying for. Just guilt. I just feel insanely guilty, like I have done something wrong or am doing something wrong. So you can't even enjoy your days off. And I think that just says a lot about our society and the value that we place on working. And don't get me wrong, like I still have side hustles and stuff, right? But it's that guilt of not having that 9-to-5 structure. It's the same way I would feel if I had a part-time job right now with a degree. It's just guilt. It's sick, and I wish I could unlearn it. I wish I could not know what it's felt. I've worked every single day since I was like 16 years old. So not having a job feels like I'm letting someone down because of the guilt. And I'm going crazy a little bit, I think. So let me know if you have any recommendations.
So this one's kind of tough. Guilt and shame are definitely emotions that can hit you for something like this, but I don't think it's fair to punish yourself because you lost your job. If you have somebody supporting you, I can see that being a little more reason for feeling guilty. But if you're out there trying to find a job and doing the work, and then you're also taking advantage of ways that you can make money, then I don't think there's any reason for you to feel guilty. Give yourself that freedom to release that and continue looking for a job, continue doing work to cover your bills, and give yourself the freedom to enjoy life in this season.
Start saving your money. Start living above your means. It's getting serious out here. It's bad when I see the hospital in my area. They talking about laying off 600 to 700 people. Jobs is not permanent. People not permanent. And, you know, people live with other people or maybe marry and depends on each other's income. Right? They say we need 3 to 6 months of living expenses just in case something happens. The first thing you should do when you get paid is put a percentage of your check into a savings account. Or I recommend high yield savings account. Ever since I learned about it, I have money in my high yield savings account. And it doesn't matter if you're making small deposits, big deposits, as long as you putting something in there, okay? Yesterday, when I got paid, I took $150, put in my brokerage account so I can add money to my ETFs. I talked about in one of my videos that I'm serious about saving and investing. I constantly I'm learning more and more about financial literacy. So that's my tip. Do what you got to do. I work overtime at my job so I can save. Some of y'all live way above your means. And that could be one of your issues. You're not tracking your money. You're overspending. And then you're wondering where your money went because you're not tracking. Start tracking your money. Start saving. It's getting real out here, y'all.
You need to be having a budget. You need to be saving money. And if you're saving money each and every month, over time, that's going to build up and put you into a good situation. You do need to have 3 to 6 months of living expenses saved up in case you are laid off, because we are not all guaranteed our work. Even if you're self-employed, things could dry up and you could find yourself in a bad economic situation where your customers can't pay anymore. If you're saving, then you're giving yourself a protective barrier from that. So like she said, I think this is great advice. Start taking some money, put it into a high yield savings account, put it into the market, okay? And put into some ETFs. You need to have your 3 to 6 months emergency fund and then start saving for your future. So if you guys have questions about that, throw it down below. I'd love to answer those for you. If you would like to see a video on that, let me know. I'd be happy to do that as well. That is all we got for today, folks. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. Share it with anyone who you think would be interested in this type of content. And we will see you next time.